Think we're on.
Good morning, Columbus, and welcome to another edition of From Our House to Your Home, the Remodeler Showcase. My name is Marty Reed. I'm your host, and the show is brought to you by Frog Hauling. If you want to clean your garage, your basement, your yard, whatever, and you need someone to haul all that away and provide you with the container, think of Frog Hauling. And if you're a remodeling contractor, and only the best product will do for your customer, and you don't want to pay for more container than you need, we carry 5 different sizes, so think of Frog Hauling. Well, I have one of my favorite guests on the show today.
You say that to everyone.
You want me to be serious. You know I'm not going to be serious.
You're not serious. I'm not one of your favorites.
Well, let me be true.
Warms the heart.
No, you are one of my favorite. Okay. We have with us Bryce Jacob, who is the president of J.S. Brown and Company. And I'm not going to put you on the spot. I'm going to give you an introduction today. How's that?
That's awesome.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bryce, you've been
Let's see
if I get it correct, first of all. Let's see. You've been in the remodeling industry 12, 13 years, somewhere in there?
A little bit more than that.
Okay.
Yeah, a little bit longer.
Okay. And you served as vice president of one company, and now you're the president of J.S. Brown. You are heavily involved in remodeler education.
Yes.
And you also are the past president of the National Association of Remodelers, the Columbus chapter. Mm-hmm. And all of that speaks about your professionalism. So that's why I'm happy to. 2 reasons. First of all, you work for a fantastic company.
Thank you.
And secondly, you are a true professional in the remodeling industry, and you are a wealth of knowledge, and we're going to try to tap into that
today.
How's that?
No, you did really well.
Okay.
I think you've been stalking me. That was so good.
Yeah. See, I try to do. I try to know my friends. Okay.
You did well.
Okay. So one of the things that we want to talk about today is, of course, your company, and we want to delve into what makes J.S. Brown different, kind of projects that you do, all those sorts of things. So I'm going to start off by saying, if I were to ask you, and I already know the answer to this, so this is a test, what makes J.S. Brown different?
That's a great question.
Loaded question,
yeah,
right?
I think there are unique factors to every company that are out there, and I think one of the things that makes J.S. Brown special is we're edging on our 40th year in business, and over the last 40 years, construction's changed tremendously, but the homes have all stayed there and they've aged. And Jeff Brown is a really incredible man. He wanted to start a company out of the passion of remodeling homes, but with the emphasis on service and professionalism. And 40 years ago, professionalism and construction weren't necessarily a requirement. And so it's become a very professional industry, but really on the legs of folks like Jeff Brown, who started J.S. Brown 40 years ago, where he really looked at what do consumers need? We're working in people's homes. He recognized out of the gate that these are families. These are families with dynamics that extend beyond just maybe the folks living in the home, that there are parents that might visit who are grandparents, there are children living in the home, and there are pets in the home, and when there's special care that must be taken to a home while folks are living there. It's very different than building a home where you still are providing a home for a family, but they're visiting to see progress as opposed to coming home from a hard day of work at the end of the day and living in a construction project when the crew's gone. So, they see progress every day. And so service was really a key emphasis on how we build a company. And one of the most tremendous things that's true to this date is the largest volume of work that we do is through repeat and referral. And that's very powerful for the company because you have to do what you say you're going to do and deliver beyond expectations to have that happen to your business. And so we're right in Grandview. Grandview is an awesome area.
Right.
I'll tell you, it is such a neat place to have.
You're going to move from where you live?
Yeah. Well, I spend most of my day there, so why not, right?
Well, I live in that area, the Grandview, Arlington area, and it's I don't know how to explain it to people, but if you can't find something to do or some place to eat, all the restaurants, all the stuff that's going on, because it's kind of influenced by that short north area too. They're becoming contiguous areas now with all that's going on.
Yeah, it's a very happening area, and we were there before that.
Yeah,
when
Jeff's building's been there a long time.
Yeah, it was a very kind of diverse culture in that area, which is healthy for an area's revitalization, especially with the core of the city doing what it's doing, and development in general, commercial and just multi-purpose housing, and you've got revitalization of kind of an industrial area, which is really exciting for us. We're an old cabinet shop. It was an old cabinet shop back when it was built, and that's what we're operating out of now, and we're busting at the seams like I think everybody is.
Yep.
But we're in the neighborhood, which is great. So Arlington and Grandview Heights, those areas that's our neighborhood.
Yeah.
And so there's a special attention to care, I think, that Jeff has taken to those homes because he's right down the road, and he knows that old construction. And one of the things that's always impressed me, even when I looked at J.S. Brown from the outside looking in at them, was that they always seemed to make everything look like it was always part of the home.
Yeah.
And so when you'd see an addition or you'd see an alteration to the home, it looked exceptionally intentional. And I thought, man, how do they source some of that product? How do they find old stone?
I always ask that stuff. When I go to look at the remodeling projects that you guys do, I go, how come I can't find that stuff? I need the
Jeff's
inside.
got it all in a warehouse.
Well, I'm going to segue into something, okay? Because you've kind of talked about Jeff's focus on service, but one of the things that I think is really, really neat that you folks have, and you can find it on your website, you have a 9-step process.
Yeah.
And there is actually a tab on your website. It says the J.S. Brown difference.
Right.
And if you're thinking of remodeling, this kind of not only defines how you approach the project, the 9 steps, but it also gives people a little insight into what's required to be able to start and go through completion of a remodeling project, kind of step by step.
Yeah.
You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. I think you have to have a process, that folks understand. And
it's not you come in and start with the hammer and make a noise, right?
And there's no one process, whether it's 9 or 5 steps or whatever it might be, that's a silver bullet for every consumer out there. Everyone wants to approach a project a different way very often. And so the reason that we outline the step process is that we want people to really understand what we have found to be successful in approaching remodeling and construction. And so some people might read it and say, well, that's not how I want to go about doing it. I'd rather have them know that now than have them become disappointed because we say this really is an effective way of bringing about successful results to a remodeling project. And so those steps are always evolving as our company is. And so those 9 steps that you mentioned are in an involvement stage right now because we go, you know what? There's a few more things we want to do service-wise from a design standpoint. There are a few more touches we want to put on this that will give us even better results. 40 years doesn't give you the right to put your feet up on a desk.
Can't put it in the 9 steps. There's a lot to it, but it's a process.
You're also not on cruise control. We're always learning, and we're always developing as a company. We're always looking at how do we become better tomorrow than we were today? Mm-hmm. And then the next day, how are we better that next day than we were that day? And so on. And we're always striving forward to say communication. There's always something new. We work with people that have different expectations. Technology is allowing people to do more research and they have more questions. And websites like ours are producing information so people say, well, there's a process here, and I looked at someone else's site and their process is this. What's really the difference? Like, why would I choose you over this process? And so we're trying to limit confusion, but there's still enough information out there that it's present.
Well, I looked at it and I read all the 9 steps. I've read them a couple times, and I find it extremely informative because I know you can say, well, we can modify it to your needs, this step. But still, there's a basic there that tells me there is this very highly organized process that we go through to get you to the end to be a satisfied customer and we accomplish what that goal is that you wanted us to accomplish. That's what I read into it. Okay.
Yeah, it's just like building a home.
Yeah.
You can't build the home without a solid foundation.
Or a blueprint.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it starts with planning, sure.
Yeah.
But then when you actually get into the bricks and sticks of things, you need a good foundation. It's just like policies and practices that you have to run your business. It all starts with a good foundation, and then you build upon it. And just like a good home, you can remodel it, but the foundation is still, it's set on bedrock. And so we're really proud of that, and our seal that we have, that is our promise to customers, is about service. It's about professionalism. It's about excellence. It's about doing all these things because it's part of our culture, and it's part of how we hire. It's part of how we train, and it's part of how we move people on if they aren't adapting to that culture. We're very comfortable helping people find where they should be, and it's very difficult to find good quality construction personnel
in today's market. It's very difficult.
Design and then of course in the installation. To have skilled carpenters. Unfortunately, there's some trades that are getting harder and harder to find people who are skilled carpenters. Arguably, I think I've got the best production manager out there. I know
him. Can I say it? Paul Martin?
Paul Martin.
Yes, we have to mention him.
Paul Martin, man, I had a crush on him the day I met him 14 years ago. And I went, what an incredible man, and what a neat backstory he has. You want to do a show that's fascinating, just have Paul on. I mean, he went to school in Iceland and lived in the dark year round and still built stuff. He was in the Navy. I mean, he's just got a great core system. He was a carpenter in New England, and so what he's brought here and what he's brought to J.S. Brown is something that's, you asked what makes us unique. And I have to say, a lot of it has to do with Paul,
people,
and the people and the expectations of how things are built with such care. There is, without question, since I've been in this industry, and where I've been before, and what Paul has brought to the table from a construction standpoint, I've never seen this kind of attention to detail. It takes more time, it takes more focus, but there's great efficiencies that are gained in not going back and fixing things. If you don't have time to do it right the first time, how are you ever going to have time to do it
and you don't end up with a satisfied customer?
People like seeing that attention to detail. They marvel at it. And remodeling is expensive. And so when people are investing,
it's expensive if you're going to do it right. If you're
going
to do,
regardless, it's expensive.
Well,
is expensive.
I look at it. There's some people that think remodeling is go to the big box store and buy some replacement cabinets, things like that. That's not really what we're talking about.
That's a do-it-yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a different methodology of approaching remodeling. Nothing wrong with it. I've done a lot of do-it-yourself stuff myself because I look at what it would cost for me to have someone do it, and I go, it just doesn't fit the depth of my pocketbook.
Yeah.
And so we make those decisions based on that. But everyone wants quality, and so when someone hires a contractor, then it's expensive. You hit that point where it's just expensive because you got to pay people to have people to be able to do
those
the work.
Skills in today's market.
And it's hard to find. And then the trades that are out there for HVAC and electric, plumbing, it's all expensive. Because again, it's a squished market of expertise that are out there. We're not pumping them out left and right out of school going into
not anymore. And people have you bring up a very good point. People have to realize this. I mean, if I were to give advice to a young person today, I'm part of my advice is take a hard look at going into the trades.
Yeah.
It's it's a supply and demand thing, and you can make a good living doing it, and you don't have to worry about your job because there's just not enough of them out there anymore. Mm-hmm. And so I understand totally. Okay,
well, it's becoming a female-dominated industry as well, which is if you thought of construction 15 years ago, when I was hot and heavy in this, it was a male-dominated industry, and it wasn't as design savvy as it's become.
I want to talk a little bit about that. We got to take a break here in a minute.
Come on.
No, you're spot on.
I hope it's a quick break, Marty.
It's going to be a quick break, but what I want to talk about is, I think it's important because we've hit upon something. All the people and the type of skills that are involved to bring a project to completion. A lot of people out there think, well, I'm going to hire this guy and he's going to come in and he's going to remodel my kitchen. And that's not the approach that a J.S. Brown takes. You have designers, you have everything involved in these projects. People that help them pick out their product, because I would be terrible at that. You could show me a gold faucet from 1970, I'd go, okay.
I know you'll go for gold, man. That's how it gets expensive.
Oh, it's not the current trend?
Gold-plated.
I didn't know that. I just crawled out of my man cave. I don't know. But anyways, let's take a break, and then I do want to talk about the different kind of people that staff your jobs and and the functionality.
Yep,
okay,
great.
We'll take a break. We'll be right back. That is me. I'm terrible.
I'm actually pretty good at picking stuff out.
Yeah.
It just takes me a lot longer. Like, our team is so efficient at the quick vision.
Yeah.
Boom, boom, boom. And then I look at it and I go, because I'm so outside the box on really everything I do.
Yeah.
That I'm always looking at a completely different way of approaching things.
Yeah.
Good or bad. And that's why it's good for me to collaborate with people who have a foot in the box, because we push design so well.
Yeah.
But then on the inside, people can be efficient with the things that are, cookie cutter that you have to do in a particular project. So, I've done my own house, but it's taken me, a year to do my pub, which, you'd look at it and you'd go, okay, this is freaking awesome. But it took me a year. And it's, but there are all these little
Bryce,
appointments.
it takes
down
me
there.
a
It's
year
cool.
just to
It's very
get
cool.
the toilet seat changed. I'm terrible. Okay,
All right.
let's go.
We ready?
Yeah.
Yep, here we go.
Okay.
Welcome back, everyone. Once again, we are speaking with Bryce Jacob, the president of J.S. Brown. And I would tell everyone, one of the things, we're gonna switch gears. I said we're gonna talk about the different, if I'm saying it right, people that you have from your company that are involved in a project, the expertise that comes to the table to get to the end product. One of the things that I really like on your website, and people go take a look, you have a J.S. Brown gallery. Well, what's neat about it is there's these little blocks, we'll say, okay, and the block says kitchen.
Thumbnails, yeah.
And what it does is it shows all the different kind of things that you're involved in as a company, or the projects that you'll take on. But then you click on that, and then it'll show you. And one of the ones that was most interesting to me was product selection, okay? Now, in my world, I think of, you mean I got to go out and pick out a knob? I've got to go pick, but you have people that'll help. So we might say this is kind of the design process you work with, but tell the folks, it's a little bit, here's how we work with you, and here's the kind of people we bring to the table that'll make this project work.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's great, because I remember as a kid, I'd go from my house to my friend's house to another friend's house. Everybody had the same sink and faucet.
Yeah, there you go.
Everybody had the same one. And you didn't think about it much.
Or the same vinyl floor, right?
Same floor, same cabinets.
Yeah.
I mean, there were not as many options as there are today.
Yeah.
And with product developers, there's also more. There's more product, of course.
Yeah.
But with the internet, what they're able to do is just throw it all out there. I mean, you want a light fixture. You can look at light fixtures 1,000 pages deep on the internet.
Oh my gosh, I know.
All day long, every day, and go crazy doing it. But you have filters now. And basically what happens when you come to a J.S. Brown, we're the filter. And so when you walk in and you're talking about a project and we say, have you been on Pinterest? Have you been on Houzz? And most people say, yes, I'm familiar with it. And they might have an idea book that they've created. A lot of times what we do is we say, share your idea book with us. And it helps us get an idea as we're going through all of their images. People bookmark what they like.
Yeah.
Sometimes they don't know how to describe what they like, which is okay. What we're really good at doing is decoding. So we look at all those pictures that they might have and we say, here's common ground between each one of these. They don't even see, but we see it because we look at these things all day long. And so we start to decode this and go, I get to feel what they're really looking for here. And so, because they got stained cabinets and then they got painted cabinets and they're going, I love these cabinets. Well, they're all different, but we pick up what that common denominator is that they don't even know, and then we show them something new, and they go, "That's exactly what I'm looking for. How did you do that?" Well, it's because it's what we do.
Okay.
And so our designers are there to really start deciphering all that information and making sense of the clutter that they have, but taking that world that's this big, and thank goodness this is streaming because it's really this big. Let's see if I can get to side to side on this. But that world it just goes on, and we're taking that and going and trying to get that thing down to a manageable bite, and that's what the team is really good at doing. So as we've evolved, and you heard me say in the last segment, if you just tuned in, you missed it, you're going to want to hear that. But we were talking about those steps, the steps to the process, and how they evolve, and how we learn as a business, and we want to get better the next day. One of the things that we've identified is there's such a large demand in construction right now. Everybody's very, very busy. Yeah. And that's good for us, but it also can be challenging. It increases the challenge because your resources are taxed. And so what I mean by that is many of us use subcontractors. Well, actually, all of us will use subcontractors to some extent, whether it be a roofer or someone to do excavation or someone to do siding or whatever.
Important note, you have your specialty. Sure. And there are people out there in the industry now, HVAC, electrical, roofing, maybe it's windows. Those are specialty companies, and everybody's going to use those specialty companies. So don't misunderstand that they don't do that. Everybody does it. We just do it in a different way today. We don't try to be all things to all people.
Yeah. So this year in our learning curve was tough because we've had so many room additions, so a lot of expanding of homes. And in that comes the relationship with excavators. Yep. And excavators are working around the clock. So their prices are going up because supply and demand. Yep. And they're working crazy hours, and they said, you know what, I'm going to make hay while we can. And so our costs have to go up. You know, we're all experiencing it. There's no one getting a big break, except we're about to, because we just hired an excavator, and we brought excavating in-house. So this is new for us because we've run our calculations really on what we've been investing in that portion of it. And also, when there's a rainstorm that we can't control, we've lost our excavator because he's got to get on another project. And we've said, you know what, it's putting our clients in a pinch, it's putting us in a pinch. When we have to change gears, it pushes our next level trade out. When our framer's supposed to be coming in on the heels of that, we've lost framers. We've had to go to the next framer, and we're losing money as a company. So we said, you know what, getting started is the most critical part, and excavation is really critical. Big investment in equipment, big investment in having someone that knows how to operate the equipment, insurance, all those different things. But we're doing it. The guys, you know, you're the first I'm telling of this. So everybody
knows that.
Hears about this as well. Well, this was a really important move for us. It's a great strategic move for us, and it's something where we feel like it will really revolutionize our deliverables to the client and manage the cost, because now we have fixed costs on excavating. We don't have to pay exorbitant prices for excavating where everybody else does. So we're feeling arguably we're going to provide more of a financial value to our homeowners as well by doing this. Sure, we're extremely excited about.
Everybody,
I got you speechless. This is great.
You do.
It doesn't happen often.
I'm going to kind of conclude by saying, and we're not ready to keep listening, folks, but I hope, you know, over the last 20 minutes, you have absorbed a little bit of the professionalism of J.S. Brown and why I think you're such a great company and why I have you on my show. And I could go on talking about this. I wish it was an hour show, because we could talk forever about the whole.
We can arrange that, right?
We can.
Well, let's just take the show on the road. What do you say?
Okay. But one of the things, I get a comment all the time. People love what's the latest and greatest, I call it. The latest. Oh. So for 3 or 4 minutes here we got left. Yeah. What are some of the things that you're seeing out there that people like?
Yeah, you know, there's always something, right?
Yeah.
And I think
like barnwood. You know, there's always these trends, barn doors, that kind of thing. Yeah.
And there's still a nice foothold on the industrial salvaged feel to design. We're seeing a lot of that, especially the market that we're working in. When people are making change to their home, they're really exploring more with creative, eclectic feel. And that's fun when you can integrate something that's only going to be in one home because it's a salvaged something, that's an exciting feature to have. People are cautious with doing too much of that because they feel it may not appeal to everybody when you go overboard on some of that.
Yeah.
So people are really trying to manage that. The thing that, interestingly enough, I'm seeing more of is attention to pets. I know it sounds crazy, but
okay.
More attention to how do we accommodate, fluffier whiskers in our house, or feathers, with having, they're part of the family. I'm a dog guy. I got a boxer, and Nora comes to work with me, so she's our JS Brown dog, and so we know what it's like to manage a project through pets, but we're seeing more accommodations made for pets, like washing stations, pet built-in areas in kitchens where the dog can lay, so they're not under your feet while you're trying to prepare, so they can get into a cabinet cavity where their bed is built in, custom niches for your pet to lay in there, or food bowls that come out of the toe kick, so they're not sitting in a room and you're tripping over them. And so we're seeing more of those really interesting trends. So it's pretty exciting to see that, and know that people are really thinking about their pets. And it really came from more people talking about, what if we did this for your pet? And then people going, wow, and it's showing up on Pinterest. So it's just like the first barn door I ever installed and took pictures of. People went, I got to have one of those. And it just, those trends, they
so now we can say JS Brown is the pet company too.
Yeah, whatever. Brown pets or not, we'll take care of them.
Okay. Well, as usual, like I always say, there's not enough time. But Bryce, I want to thank you for once again coming on my radio show. It's always a pleasure.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you folks, I try to have Bryce on 2-3 times a year, because he always is very interesting, and I think he gives you a very, very, good view of what it is that you should be looking at when you're going through the remodeling process.
Yeah, thanks.
Because a lot of people, I get the question all the time, and I go, please, I'm not the expert. I'm the dumpster guy. Yeah, but I can tell you who
just throw it away.
I can tell you who you ought to call, So once again, thanks, and go to their website, JS Brown and Company. Fabulous website. It'll give you a lot of insight to what his company does, and I look forward to having you on again.
Yeah,
so thanks so much.
Coming back. Thanks, Marty.
Okay, buddy. Take care.
You bet.
Thanks. Okay.
That's going to air this Sunday.